Emma's Brain blog began after a long history of thoughts escaping my mouth without thinking them through first, which is a condition often referred to as being far too honest for your own good. Usually a cause of much embarrassment, I found that my embarrassment was a source of much amusement for others, and after a long battle with postnatal depression following the birth of my third child, I learnt the advantage of putting words to the thoughts that many believe to be better left unsaid. I found being able to write about sensitive topics in a humorous manner brought many of these issues out of the shadows and into the mouths of others, even if it was only the occasional thank geez, I'm not as messed up as that Emma's Brain bird.
Apologies, I've read this through twice. And so this is my third go. So if I get it a little bit wrong, I'm really, really sorry, Emma. And it has no title, so I can't even start with that. We're on to a good one. Once upon a time, people everywhere cried out in unison, "What the hell are mummy bloggers? Where do they come from? Who the hell do they think they are? And what do they think they're doing?" And together they said, "There was once a time when I birthed a baby, and I gained so many things that a little of me had to leave to make room." You'll gaze at the perfection of your infant, even if according to a textbook, somewhere they are not. The world is yet to touch them. Your heart will break. It will break at the thought that the world will one day mould them, but you know you'd never let anything within your power hurt them. They are yours, and you know now what love is. You've seen this before. It's in commercials and advertisements, on TV, magazines, movies, and parenting books. I know about this because I've been there too. The marvel doesn't wear off. The love is enormous, and the desire to do only ever the best thing for your child, it never wanes. Only you won't always do the best thing for your child, and you won't see that in the commercials. One day you will yell, undeservingly yell at your child. You won't love them any less or ever want to do the wrong things by your child, but you will look down at that once tiny bundle that is full with all of your love and be so unbelievably frustrated. You don't see that on TV. One day your child will wake more times than you can pry your eyes open, and you will never know a night could be so long or so torturous. You will marvel at your sleeping child and never know such love existed. But one day there will come a time when your heart sinks a little when they wake from their nap. You won't read that in a magazine. You'll spontaneously implode the first time your child mutters your name, and you'll run to film it or to call your family to share in the marvel. It will be just like in the movies, only better because it's your child. They're so clever. Then one day, you'll hear your name muttered that one too many times in a note that does not exist on any musical scale. It's a tone invented by children that travels to your ear via one of your very last nerves. It's capable of interrupting any train of thought and making any already mind-dulling task take 11 times longer than is really necessary. It is always accompanied by a demand, like, "Hey ma, wipe my bum," and you must comply because not doing so, well, bro, that's neglect. So you must. And you will mentally add ass wiper extraordinaire to your resume, while the you that used to have a much more publicly respected job dies a little bit inside. And the you that now has far more menial task, or meaningful, perhaps I said that wrong on purpose, of creating the future's doctors, politicians, tech support, secretaries and drive-through operators, will glance at your wedding photo in the hall and hang a finger at your spouse's judgmental look of what did you do all day when they walk through the door. And your parenting today will have been brought to you by the internally muttered letter F. You won't see that on a fucking nappy ad. You promise that you will only ever offer nutritious meals for your child, just like that article on nutrition in the parenting magazine you read outline, until you don't. And one day you'll find your child eating 2-minute noodles dipped in Nutella straight from the jar, and you'll pretend you didn't see it just so you can get this job done. You'll one day convince yourself that the fish food the cat knocked over and your child is now eating by the fistful is actually a good source of omega-3s. The same voice that vowed to only ever let nutrition-filled food pass your child's lip will now say things like, "Fine, Whatever. Eat the M&Ms you found under the lounge cushion. Get scurvy. This is me not giving a shit. One day you'll flip open that magazine or an advertisement will come on and the TV reminding you that the first 5 years of a child's life is crucial. Everything you do in that time will shape them for the rest of their life. And you will get a pang in the pit of your stomach. Because your child watched 7 episodes of Babar in a row yesterday, while they ate an apple that had fallen on the floor at least twice, and you didn't even rinse it because you know one wrong move out of you and they'll realise that they're eating something you approve of. And hey, an apple covered in dog hair is still an apple. You'll get an awful feeling because you promised that tiny bundle with all your love that you would always do the right thing by them, but you won't. And no one told you that in birthing class. One day your precious little bundle will throw a tantrum and all of this fear and anger and frustration will boil out of their tiny bodies. The tiny little limbs will be flailing and pummeling with pure anger and you'll feel helpless and frustrated. You'll have to endure one too many of these outbreaks and you'll tell yourself that you can't do this. One day you'll feel like you can't cope. You can't cope with all of this love. Love. And you won't see that on TV. One day your child will fall over and they'll bleed and your heart will break and you'll cuddle them and comfort them and hold them till they feel safe. And you'll carefully place a Band-Aid over the hurt and want to take all the pain away, just like in the Band-Aid ad. Then one day your child will fall over, you'll roll your eyes and you'll tell them to get up, for crying out loud. Shake it off. Up, up. Insist their scrape does not even require a bloody Band-Aid. Go and play. They can't put that one in the Band-Aid ad. One day you may feel as though you'd walk to China to get 5 minutes alone, unless of course you live in China, in which case swap that for Australia. You'll so desperately want to be alone, but have never felt so lonely at the same time. One day you'll realise you've not gotten up in the night to your child for some time now. Their minor scrapes no longer need Band-Aids and they can do all of these things on their own. They don't call out for you so much. You'll lie in bed and the awful night guilts about all of those times you did not keep your promise to only ever do good to them will hit you in the gut all at once. Because despite all of your promises and good intentions, you cannot keep them all. But you'll never love them any less. You won't want to do anything but the right thing for them. The night is when all of the guilts are awake. And there is no chapter in the parenting book about that. It's a secret. Mummy bloggers are like you, and they know that secrets can eat you alive. So some who enjoy doing so write about it, not because they're bad at keeping secrets, although I am, but because they didn't read about them anywhere either. They didn't see it on the big screen or hear about it on the radio, and necessity is a mother too, the mother of all invention. And so, mummy bloggers were born. They shared and they laughed and they cried. They supported and they cringed and then they shared and overshared some more. They were not so lonely anymore. Those mummies and daddies that could not write, they read and they rejoiced that they could identify. Mummy bloggers wrote their own Band-Aid ads, the kind that don't make you feel like you're a neglectful mother. And they were funny and well received, and Band-Aid companies said, hey, great idea, let me pay you so that you can make a little money for your hobby. And they didn't stop there. Mummy bloggers wrote their own parenting manuals and their own medical textbooks that showed their child as they saw them, not their imperfections. The mummy bloggers recognised that it was important to take time for themselves, to do something that they enjoy, and do it. They did. They welcomed that not all children nor parents were the same, and different ideas and styles were helpful for everyone, even if they did not agree. Some didn't like it. Some found it threatening. They drew crude cartoons making fun of the mummy bloggers. They wrote articles criticising the mummy bloggers in the big papers. And they started hateful forums and said snide things on the TV about them. They made fun of their spelling and grammar and photos. They did their best to make the word mummy as patronising and as dirty as they could, so as they could keep their secrets, because guilt is a wonderful marketing tool. It sells a lot of shit. For every inadequacy, there is a self-help book or an article or a product. Did you know you're going to die one day? Don't burden your family with your funeral costs. 1 Peter 5:7 says, "Be kind to one another, forgiving one another, just as God in love has forgiven you." 2 Timothy 4:6 says, "Love one another, That's not sponsored, by the way. But the mummy bloggers stood firm. Their army was great, not just in size, but in spirit and knowledge and experience. They were remarkable storytellers, and besides, they have heard much, much worse. They have all heard the words, "I hate you, mummy. You are not my best friend." Nothing anyone says will ever hurt as much as that, because no one else is as important as their child, especially not the hateful naysayers. So they carried on doing what they did, because taking the time to share and to learn, to be that little bit of support they could not find, and to do the things for themselves to keep the mother of their child happy and healthy, because that is the best thing for their child. And they promised, even if they could not always keep that promise.